Hi there, wherever you are tonight. Maybe you're curled up in bed or lying quietly with your headphones in. I'm really glad you're here. Outside, the world feels quiet. The air is cold, and somewhere in the distance, a breeze whispers through forgotten trees. What time is it for you now? And where are you listening from? Feel free to leave a gentle comment or simply close your eyes and stay with me here. Tonight's story isn't about kings or queens, not about grand halls or golden crowns. It's about something softer, the quiet, cold resilience of ordinary lives. How did medieval peasants survive the longest, most frozen nights with no electricity, no thick blankets, not even solid walls between them and the wind? The answer lies in smoke, in straw, in shared breath and borrowed warmth. And yes, every bit of what you're about to hear really happened. This is not fantasy, it's history, just told slowly. So now, pull the blanket a little closer and let's drift into a different time where winter ruled the night and sleep was a quiet victory. If one night you opened your eyes and everything felt colder than it should, not sharp, but soft, slow, a chill that moved like breath across your skin, you'd realize you weren't where you usually sleep. There's no hum of electronics, no glow from a nearby screen, just the uneven flicker of firelight on a rough ceiling above you. The walls around you aren't quite walls, just branches, woven together, coated with packed earth and something that smells faintly like animals and old rain. You shift beneath a blanket that's more patchwork than fabric. Bits of wool, scraps of linen, a faded strip of leather that used to be something else. Underneath it all is straw, not a mattress. Just dry stalks flattened from weeks of sleep. A few crunch as you move, and something small scurries deeper into the hay. There's a shape beside you, another body under another pile of cloth. You don't look, you don't need to. You know who it is. Someone you've slept beside every winter for as long as you can remember. The room smells like smoke and something else. Warm bodies and old earth, and the faintest trace of last night's stew still clinging to the air. Outside, you hear nothing, not yet, not even the rooster dares call before the fire is awake. You sit up slowly and feel the cold curl around your neck, like a scarf made of fog. The floor beneath your feet isn't wood, just more earth, packed tight, cracked in places where moisture froze and thawed again. You don't flinch when it touches your skin. You've known this feeling all your life. You pull on your tunic, thick wool that itches no matter how many times it's been worn. It doesn't matter. It's the warmest thing you have. The fire, or what's left of it, waits in the center of the room, just a few sleeping coals beneath a blanket of white ash. You kneel beside it, careful, gentle, and begin to uncover the embers. This is a ritual, not with prayers or candles, but with breath and hope. One coal glows, tiny, flickering, but it's enough. You feed it with slivers of bark, a twist of dried rush, and then you wait. The fire doesn't roar, not yet. It sighs back to life, like an old friend stirred from a deep nap. Your hands hover near the warmth, not too close. You've learned not to trust the flame too early. It grows slowly. Light stretches across the floor, revealing shapes that were just shadows a moment ago. A wooden stool, a battered pot, a bundle of dried herbs tied to the ceiling beam. There's a chicken in the corner, half awake one eye open, watching you like it remembers your clumsy feet from yesterday. You smile, just barely, and toss another stick into the fire. Soon, others will wake the same way you did, with slow movements, quiet shivers, and a silent gratitude that the night has ended. But for now, the stillness belongs to you. You wrap yourself in your cloak, pull it tight around your shoulders, and sit for a while, letting the heat seep in, the walls creak, the thatch above your head rustles as the wind brushes across the roof. Somewhere behind the cottage, a cow shifts, her breath steaming into the morning chill. You remember your tasks: collect water before the stream freezes deeper, check the rushes in the roof, maybe patch the draft near the door. But not yet. Right now, you let the warmth reach your fingers. You listen to the fire breathe, and you stay in this moment, the moment between night and day, between frozen stillness and the work to come. You sip from a wooden cup beside you, last night's water, now cold, but not yet ice. You glance toward the window, not a window with glass, just a small hole covered in animal hide. The light beyond it is grey, heavy, the colour of skies that promise snow. You sigh softly, because that's how winters work here. They come early, they stay late, and in between, they test you, but you've made it through another night. You're here, and so is the fire. You brush ash from your hands and feel the small ache in your knuckles that winter always brings. You rise slowly, cloak dragging behind you, bare feet finding their place on familiar ground. It's a new day, just like the last and the one before, but you've learned not to rush them, not when every breath is still visible in the air, and every beam of light is a gift. You step outside, and the cold greets you like an old acquaintance, not cruel, just honest. The wind wraps around your ankles, your breath swirls upward, and the frost on the ground crunches softly beneath you. This is where your story begins tonight. Not with triumphs or battles, not with heroes or thrones, but with a breath, a blanket, a flicker of fire, and you waking in the coldest hour of a medieval morning. You wake up before the sun does, but not because you want to, because your body tells you it's time. The straw beneath you crackles softly, each piece flattened by too many nights, too many dreams, too many bodies, curling and uncurling in the same spot again and again. You shift just a little and feel a cold breath rise from the earth below. Not a ghost, just the ground reminding you it's still winter. Your blanket, or what passes, for one slides slightly off your shoulder, and in that moment, the entire room feels colder, like the wind had been waiting for that one tiny gap. You pull it back, up fingers, stiff the fabric, rough against your skin. It smells like smoke, wool and something old, something like yesterday and the day before. The floor is not a floor, not like the ones you know today. There are no tiles, no wood panels, no soft carpet, just packed dirt, uneven, sometimes muddy, sometimes frozen, always real. When it rains, the floor turns darker. When it freezes, it sings under your steps. And when it's dry, it cracks like old bread. You sit up slowly, knees creaking back tight from sleeping in the same curl you always do, protecting your warmth like a candle under glass. You glance to the side, and there they are. Someone you've shared this straw bed with for months, maybe years. A sibling or two, a cousin, a grandparent, even a stranger. Sometimes, when the night is too cruel to leave anyone alone, you don't mind, not really. Their breath helped warm the air. Their presence kept the night from swallowing everything. Some nights, the straw shifts too much, and you end up with your head lower than your feet. Other times, the rodents below scratch just close enough to make you wonder if they're dreaming too. You once tried to fluff the straw to make it softer, but it never lasts. Straw isn't like feathers. It doesn't bounce back. It just settles and stays that way until you change it. Or until spring. Your blanket, if you can call it, that is made of old clothes sewn together, sleeves, aprons, bits of sacks, all patched and repatched. You know each patch, where it came from, whose hands stitched it, which moment it tore. You run your fingers along one seam, and remember when it held and when it didn't. Outside, you hear nothing yet. Just the weight of snow pressing down on the roof. The silence of a village not ready to wake. The silence here isn't empty. It's full of breath, of waiting, of hearts that beat a little slower when it's this cold. Your feet touch the earth, cold, always cold, even through the layer of ash from yesterday's fire that somehow made it all the way to the sleeping corner. You step forward carefully because the floor bites this time of year. Not like a snake, but like memory. Each step reminds you, this is your life. This is how it begins, each day, with bare feet on frozen ground and the stubbornness to keep walking anyway. You walk past a corner where the straw is mouldy. No one sleeps there anymore. Not since the roof leaked last autumn. You remember trying to fix it, stuffing it with rags and prayer. But prayers don't keep the rain out. Not always. The wall closest to you is cracked, the mud drying into 1,000 tiny rivers. And in between them, spiders sleep where dreams should be. But you don't mind them. Not anymore. They don't bite. They don't complain. They just live like you. There's a thin cloth hanging near the door. It flutters slightly, not from a breeze, but from the breath of someone just waking up. You smile, even though it's cold, because you're not the only one awake now. Someone stirs beneath the straw pile. A hand emerges, reaching for warmth that's no longer there. They groan softly, a reminder that every day starts the same, with a sound, a stretch, and the hope that the fire hasn't died yet. You kneel near the hearth again, as you did yesterday, and the day before. Your knees know the shape of this floor by heart. You poke at the embers, whispering nothing in particular, just sound, because silence can be heavier than the cold. There are no shoes nearby. You'll warm your feet later once the fire grows, if it grows. You think about the others still asleep, the ones who didn't hear the wind or pretended not to, because warmth in dreams is better than none at all. You think about summer, but only for a moment, because thinking of warmth makes the cold feel bolder. So instead you focus on the now, on the crack in the floor, on the whisper of straw behind you, on the breath that escapes your lips like fog from a forgotten forest. Your eyes drift to the small wooden beam near your sleeping place. Someone etched a mark into it once. A name, maybe, or a date. You've never asked. It's faded now, like everything in this room, but it's still there, still trying to matter. And then you lie back down for a moment, not to sleep, just to remember what it felt like to be still. The straw crunches again, your back settles into the familiar dip, and for a second you forget the cold. You close your eyes and imagine this space as a womb, not of comfort, but of becoming, because this is where you learn to survive, on dirt floors, under patchwork quilts, beside breath you didn't own but borrowed anyway. And somehow that was enough. It still is. The fire doesn't wait for the sun to rise. It waits for you. Always has. Always will. You kneel before it, hands cold, breath slow. The ground beneath your knees is frozen, but familiar. You brush away the ash, gentle as a lullaby, fingers searching for what's left from last night. And there it is, a coal, faint hiding, a red whisper curled under grey. You lean in, breathe soft over it, just enough, not to wake it harshly, but to remind it you're still here and you need it. You reach for dry twigs placed near the hearth the night before, tiny things, bark, straw, a bit of moss. One by one, you offer them like memories being retold, not rushed, not loud, just placed, and in return, a flicker. The coal exhales light. It doesn't crackle, not yet. It glows, stretching its arms, remembering the warmth it once gave. And you watch closely, shielding it from the morning draft that sneaks through the thatch. The flame grows shyly, licking the edges of the kindling. You don't move, not yet. You let it find its breath. You know this rhythm, like a song passed down, sung only at dawn. Someone behind you stirs, the sound of a blanket shifting, a low sigh. Maybe they heard the fire come back to life too. You smile, but you don't look away. The flames are young still. They need your eyes, they need your belief. Another twig, this one slightly damp. It hisses softly, but it stays. The warmth begins to pulse outward, touching your fingertips first, then the space between them, then the shadow near your feet. And just like that, the room begins to change. Smoke lifts slowly. There's no chimney here, just a small hole in the roof. The smoke takes its time. It dances up in loops, like it's reluctant to leave, like it knows you need it to stay. Your eyes water, not from the sting, but from the knowing. This is what keeps you alive. Not grand gestures, not roaring fires, just this, a breath, a glow, a moment of returning heat. Someone walks over, barefoot, sleepy. They don't speak, just sit beside you, hold out their hands. You don't speak either. The silence is sacred here. You share the warmth, as if it's a secret only you two understand. A log is brought over, thicker, heavier. It will last longer. You cradle it into the fire's center. The flames curl around it slowly, like children clinging to a parent's leg. More people begin to stir, not with noise, but with presence, movement, acknowledgement. The fire has called them, and they've answered. One by one they gather, not to talk, but to sit, to feel, to remember what warmth feels like when it's earned. A small pot is placed near the edge. It holds water or broth. No one says which. It doesn't matter. Anything warm is welcome. The smoke thickens, then softens. The room smells like soot and wool, like skin and stories, like life. Someone hums a tune, barely audible. You don't recognize it, but it fits, like everything else in this moment. The walls hold still. The fire speaks in pops and whispers. The day hasn't started yet. Not fully, but it's close. The light outside begins to fade, from black to grey. Not silver, not blue, just grey. The kind of light that doesn't warm, only reveals. You stretch your hands closer. The skin tightens slightly from the heat, but you don't move. It feels good to feel something. Someone sneezes softly in the background. Someone else laughs without sound. You poke the fire again. Just see if it still needs you. It doesn't, but it lets you. The way old friends do, the way memories do. You think of yesterday, the way the fire almost didn't make it. How the wind crept in while everyone slept. The smoke thickens, then softens. The room smells like soot and wool, like skin and stories, like life. Someone hums a tune, barely audible. You don't recognize it, but it fits, like everything else in this moment. The walls hold still. The fire speaks in pops and whispers. The day hasn't started yet. Not fully, but it's close. The light outside begins to fade, from black to grey. Not silver, not blue, just grey. The kind of light that doesn't warm, only reveals. You stretch your hands closer. The skin tightens slightly from the heat, but you don't move. It feels good to feel something. Someone sneezes softly in the background. Someone else laughs without sound. You poke the fire again. Just see if it still needs you. It doesn't, but it lets you. The way old friends do, the way memories do. You think of yesterday, the way the fire almost didn't make it. How the wind crept in while everyone slept. The log shifts, sending a shower of sparks into the air. They dance for a moment, then vanish, like moments, like seasons, like people. The fire crackles louder now, confident. You lean back, cloak wrapped tight, hands tucked beneath your knees. You don't need to feed it anymore. It knows what to do. You've done your part, and now it burns. Not wildly, but with purpose. It warms the room, it fills the air. It becomes something steady, something strong, something like hope made visible. And in that glow, in that quiet, you breathe easier. You feel the weight of your body, your hunger, your heartbeat, your memory, all gently thawing, all slowly returning to the world. Just like the fire, just like the day. And you whisper, not words, just sound, just gratitude, just this. You made it. Another morning, another flame, another small miracle held in two cold hands and a little light. You don't sleep alone, not in this place, not in this season, and especially not in this cold, when the wind slips through the walls like a whisper too old to be forgotten. You sleep wrapped in layers of cloth, of voices of breath. But those layers aren't made of blankets alone. No, they're made of bodies, yours, your family's, and your animals. Because when the frost comes, it doesn't knock. It seeps in, through the doorframe, through the roof, through the floor. And the only answer is to draw closer, tighter, quieter. You remember the first time a goat climbed into your bed. If it can be called a bed, it startled you at first, its hooves pressing into your hip, its breath warm and sour near your cheek. But then You didn't push it away because its warmth felt like fire without flame. And that night, you slept better, warmer, slower. You realized then that in this house, in this time, survival was shared. And so you let the goat stay, and the chickens too, perching along the wooden beams, fluttering down at night, sometimes landing softly on your legs or your chest. You never quite get used to the claws, but you get used to the company, the rhythm of feathers settling in, the way they puff up, burying beaks and wings, becoming little balls of breath. And then there's the cow, always near the back, close to the hearth. Her massive body is a furnace all its own, her sides rising and falling like waves on a quiet sea. And you sleep not beside her, but within the heat she offers. Your bed, if one insists on that word, is a patch of straw, flattened and fragrant, scattered over packed dirt. Sometimes the straw is dry, sometimes it's damp, and sometimes there are things moving in it. You learn to ignore them, or rather to live alongside them. They don't bite often, and even when they do, it's a small price to pay for the chance to sleep through the cold. Your siblings sleep on either side of you, curled inward, their knees drawn up, their breath making small clouds in the air. You reach for them in your sleep, without meaning to. Your arm drapes over someone's shoulder. A leg tangles around a calf. A hand rests on a patch of hair, and you stay like that, unmoving, for hours. The cold teaches stillness, teaches you that every motion is a gamble. Move too much, and the warmth slips away. So you lie there, breathing as one, and sometimes, just sometimes, you dream of silence, not the silence of night, but the silence of warmth, the kind where your body forgets to shiver, the kind where even the goats stop murmuring, the chickens go silent, the cows sleep soundly, and everything breathes in and out, without effort, without fear. In that silence you find something rare, peace, not comfort, not softness, but peace, a kind of stillness that says, for now, you're safe, and that is enough. The morning always comes with sound, not alarms, but rustling, groaning, feathers shifting, hooves scraping against floor, someone coughing into the straw. You open your eyes to the dim light of a world not yet lit, and you see the shapes, bodies wrapped in fabric, in fur, in each other, and beside them, chickens scratching, goats blinking sleepily, the cow rising slow as a mountain, steam curling from her nostrils. You stretch without stretching, because to move is to lose the heat you've kept all night, and yet you must rise. The fire must be fed, the day must begin, but for one last moment you remain there, among your herd, your people, your heat sharers, and you think this is not a home. It is a nest, a den, a space made sacred by the bodies inside it. There are no beds with sheets, no doors with locks, but there is closeness, and in closeness there is life, and in life there is hope. And when you rise, shaking off the straw, brushing feathers from your cloak, stepping carefully over sleeping feet and hooves and tails, you do so not as one, but as many, a part of something messy, warm, and necessary. You catch the eye of the goat. She blinks at you, unmoved. You nod to her, and she blinks again. That is your conversation. That is your thanks. And you step away, not alone, never alone, Not in this house, not in this winter. You don't dress the way people do now. You don't open a wardrobe. You don't pick something soft, something clean, something that feels like comfort. Instead, you reach for what's thickest, what's heaviest, what smells most like yesterday. Because yesterday's warmth is better than today's cold. The first thing you touch is linen. Not smooth, not gentle. It's scratchy and stiff. It holds the shape of your body from the night before. Then comes wool, always wool. Sometimes it itches, sometimes it scratches. But it works. It holds heat like nothing else. You pull it over your arms, then another layer, then maybe a third. The tighter it feels, the better. Because warmth isn't about freedom. It's about compression. The air between the layers is what keeps the cold out. You wrap your legs too. Not in pants, but in strips of fabric, tied, crossed, wrapped again. Your hands move like they've done this 1,000 times, because they have. You cover your feet, wool first, then felt, then leather, sometimes tied with string, sometimes just tucked in. The point is coverage. The point is not letting the air touch you. And then the fat. You open a jar, mutton, fat, thick, yellow, slightly sour. You dip your fingers in, rub it into your wrists, your ankles, the backs of your knees. It doesn't smell nice, but it coats your skin like a second barrier. It holds heat, and that's all that matters. You rub it into your hands, your palms, between your fingers. It softens the cracks that winter tries to split open. You rub a little on your cheekbones too, just enough. The final layer is a cloak, heavy, worn, wool or hide or both, sometimes patched with sackcloth, sometimes burned at the hem, but it still works. It wraps around you like a wall. When the wind howls, it shivers, but it doesn't give in. You fasten it with a pin or a knot or nothing. You hold it shut with your arms. That's enough. Your hands don't wear gloves, just wrappings, wool, twine, a cloth strip looped over your thumb, wrapped again and again. You can't do delicate work in them, but they buy you minutes, just enough time to gather wood, just enough time to carry water without your skin splitting open. Your hood goes on last, lined with fur, maybe, or wool, or nothing but dreams. It doesn't stop the wind, but it muffles the bite, and that's enough. When you step outside, you feel it instantly. The chill that wraps around your knees, the bite at your nose. But inside all those layers, you're okay. You don't feel warm, but you don't feel pain. And in winter, that's called success. Everyone looks the same in the village. Shapeless figures waddling through the snow. Children look like potatoes in sacks. They tumble more than they walk, but they laugh. Steam curls from their mouths like tiny dragons. You smile at that. You remember that feeling. You remember not caring how you looked, only that you could breathe and move and stay warm. You don't wash your clothes, not now, not in this season. Wet means frozen. Frozen means dead. You wear the same thing for weeks, maybe months, until it stiffens, until it softens again, until it smells like smoke, sweat, straw, you, and even that is better than the scent of snow touching bare skin. Inside the house, you peel off the outer layer carefully. Not all at once. First the hood, then the cloak. You hang them by the fire, let them dry, let them remember heat. Underneath, your wool is damp, your linen clings, but your skin is dry, and that's what matters. You survived the walk. You'll do it again tomorrow. You always do. Dressing in winter isn't about fashion. It's about memory, knowing which hole to avoid, which sleeve to double up, which cloak holds the heat best at night. You don't choose what's pretty, you choose what lives. And every stitch tells a story, not of style, but of endurance, of cold conquered, of mornings faced, of you, still here, still wrapped, still warm, inside layers older than memory, and women thinner than they should be. In the villages, mothers often gave their portions to children, pretending they'd eaten earlier. Fathers sat longer at the table, staring into bowls emptied too fast. Even dogs waited in silence, understanding that scraps were rare. He remembered one winter, the harshest in decades. Snow piled past the window, the pot ran dry, and still they waited for anything. One evening, a neighbour brought a sack of turnips, small, bitter, and misshapen. But that night, they boiled them with tears in their eyes. It was a meal they would talk about for years. Not because it tasted good, but because it meant hope. They did not call it poverty. They called it life, and somehow they made it sacred. A crust broken in silence. A spoon passed gently from one hand to another. A fire kept alive, not just for warmth, but for boiling water, for softening yesterday's bread, for keeping the family together. No one said grace, but everyone was grateful. Not in words, in breath, in bites, in the way they chewed, slowly as if to stretch time. And when the bowls were emptied and the spoons rested still, they sat a while longer, just to feel full. Even now, he could remember the taste, not of meat or spice or richness, but of endurance, of togetherness, of long le victories, of living one more day and knowing it was enough. Through a narrow crack in the wooden wall, he could see it. A faint orange flicker dancing behind the neighbour's window, proof that their fire was still alive. In winter, such a sight meant more than light. It meant they had made it. Another evening, another round of breath between frost and ash. There were nights more than once when the fire in his hearth had faded too far. The wind crept in from beneath the door, slipping across the floor like a whisper without a face, and he had walked across the frozen dirt, shoulders wrapped in burlap and hands half numb, to knock softly on that neighbour's door, not with pride, but with need. And when the door opened, no questions were asked, just a nod, just a coal passed carefully on a broken shovel, glowing red beneath layers of cloth, a quiet offering that meant survival. That's how it was here. No one kept warmth for themselves. The flames moved between homes like shared hope. On some nights they gave, on others they received, but always they remembered. In that darkness, generosity wasn't a virtue, it was a rule. Without it, no one lasted long. He recalled the sound of boots in the snow, slow, measured, heading from one house to another. Sometimes it was a father, sometimes a child. Once, it had been the old widow leaning on her cane, dragging a bucket behind her. She had come for embers and had left with both hands wrapped around a ladle of stew given from a pot that barely had enough. And still they had given, because to withhold, to hoard, would have been to break something sacred, not a law, but a thread, the kind that held the village together through storms and silence. Even inside, as night thickened and the fire dimmed, he could still hear life next door. A soft cough, the creak of old wood, the whine of a hungry goat. It comforted him, let him know they were still there, still trying, just like him. Before sleep, there was a habit, not a ritual of the church, but a quiet moment spoken low, a prayer, not in Latin, not with candles, just words mumbled beneath the breath, a hope for the morning, a wish for warmth, a name whispered for someone who had not come back last year. The children copied him, clumsy honest, hands folded wrong, but the meaning was there. They asked for enough, not more, just enough. For the roof to hold, for the cow to wake, for the frost not to take the baby in the cradle. They did not pray for wealth. They prayed for another sunrise, and when the last ember in the hearth blinked slow, when the last log gave its final sigh, they pressed close together, wrapped in wool and skin and trust, and closed their eyes, not with certainty, but with surrender. In those moments, silence did not mean absence. It meant presence. It meant the world had agreed to pause, to wait, to keep watch until morning. And though the night was long, and the cold crept like an old ghost beneath every door, they slept. Not because they weren't afraid, but because they had each other. Because someone had shared coal. Because someone had whispered a name. Because someone had believed in the power of a breath. That was enough. That was always enough. And in the hush before dawn, with frost clinging to the window edge and every mouth breathing low, they asked for nothing else, not comfort, not glory, not gold. Just this, just one thing. In silence, they asked not for luxury, just another sunrise. The sounds of the day had faded. No more footsteps, no more shifting logs. Only the soft exhale of breath and the distant hum of wind pressing gently against the outside wall. The fire had quieted to a bed of coals glowing faintly beneath grey ash. No longer speaking in crackles, only breathing. In that hush he lay curled within the straw. Around him others had settled too. Children bundled in blankets, heads resting on folded arms, eyes already closed. A dog twitched once in sleep. The hen on the beam above gave a final rustle, then stillness. His back touched the cool earth beneath the straw, but his chest felt the warmth of bodies near. That warmth did not roar. It pulsed slowly, like a shared heartbeat across the room. The air smelled of wool, of smoke, of breath. He closed his eyes, not tightly, just enough. And the dark behind his lids was kind, not empty, just quiet. From somewhere deep within, a picture began to rise. Not memory, not fantasy, but something softer. A glimpse, a feeling. He saw a field open green, soft with spring. Grass pushed up through dark earth. Light slanted low across furrows. Somewhere far off, a bird called. And in that field he walked barefoot, slowly, with no pain. The ground welcomed him. The cold was gone, and around him there was only light, only warmth. No hunger, no weight, just sky, just breath. He knew it was a dream, but did not want to wake. Not yet, not while the vision held. He breathed in again, slower now. Felt the hay shift beneath him. Heard the smallest whistle from the wind outside. The door creaked, though no one moved. The house exhaled like a tired chest, settling into sleep. And he whispered to himself, not aloud, not for others, but for the quiet that wrapped the room. I'm still here, one more day. No one heard, and still it mattered. The words rose through the straw, folded themselves into the beams, settled into the air. That was enough. That was everything. Around him nothing stirred. The night had accepted its shape, and the house, heavy with sleep and soot and memory, became weightless. Floating in the dark like a dream unspoken, there were no thoughts of tomorrow, no fear, no need, only the drift, the gentle giving way, the final letting go. And now, May you rest as peacefully as those who lived long ago